Awesome.
Yeah, I graduated in the fall of 2015. I had done 2 internships with Chevron prior to starting full time. So I can kind of share later on a little bit kind of what kind of helped set me apart for getting my internships and then obviously getting my full time position. But yeah, my name is Robert.
All right. Yeah, and I'm Daniel. I've been with Chevron since 2016, since January, about the same time Robert started after his internships. I'm also a designs engineer. And yeah, like I said, we're gonna be making this up as we go a little bit. At least for the first few slides that Hope was gonna present. Unfortunately, yeah, she won't make it, but I think you guys would have really enjoyed her presentation as well. She was a recent graduate, I think, in 2018, and has done really well here in the last few years. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this started. So yeah, so Robert and I, we kind of already introduced ourselves, and we'll talk a little bit more about ourselves in a few minutes. We're going to give a Chevron overview, and then also just kind of an idea of what we do as facilities engineers and our roles and what we do. And then just kind of open it up for Q&A. I know we're short on time, but I really hope to let you guys ask as many questions and answer as many questions as we can for you guys. Oops, wrong one. Okay, yeah, no, that's right. So there's Hope. And yeah, Robert, I don't know if you wanna start off or if you have
Yeah, I can start off. This first slide is just kind of showing the scale of Chevron's umbrella. Chevron is the second largest oil company headquartered in the United States. Exxon, I think, is the biggest oil company, but if you ever keep up with like stock market, you'll see that Chevron just passed Exxon in terms of market cap. So in terms of assets, not the biggest, but in terms of market cap, currently the biggest U.S. oil company. 45,000 employees worldwide, 3.1 million barrels of oil equivalent, and 1.7 million barrels of refining capacity. So pretty large company. Comparative, like some of the other global peers like BP, Shell, a little bit smaller, but like right up against them in terms of capacity.
Yeah, and another fun fact, I think as of a month or two ago, we're the only oil company listed on the S&P 500. So just another kind of nod to Chevron and our strong performance as a company and our strong balance sheet.
Cool. Yeah, so this slide here is going to talk about, like we all know about the energy transition, right? Going away a little bit from oil and gas products and moving on to like renewables and other cleaner energy sources. I think what's important to know is that despite the big push for renewables, statistics show that oil and gas is still going to make up over 50% of the energy demand and energy supply by 2040. Here you can see that in 20 years from now, we're only going to see oil and gas make up 1% less than what it currently makes up now, which is going from 54 to 53%. Renewables are going to take up a little bit of that supply, but a big chunk of the world, I think the prediction is that 2/3 of the population is going to be entering the middle class by 2040. And with such a huge influx of people into the middle class, energy demand is going to go up a ton. You can see on that bar graph that total energy supply is going up a huge percentage, and oil and gas is going to keep making up a big chunk of that. The plot on the right is basically showing that without any additional investment in oil reserves, we're going to deplete our supply exponentially. And what that basically means is that we need to invest a ton of money, put in a ton of capital to keep up the supply. This is saying that we need to invest over $9 trillion by 2040 to meet that gap in the demand. That's about 83 million barrels per day. So basically what that means is that in the oil and gas industry, you're going to still see a ton of investment, a ton of projects, a bunch of job opportunities for people to meet that demand.
Yeah. So one of the really cool things about working at Chevron is their focus on diversity and inclusion. So one of the things when I kind of first started out, I always joke around because there always seemed to be we have a variety of employee networks. So we have like a Pride network, Veterans network, Black employee network, our Somos network, Women's network. A variety of different networks, and every it seemed like every other day when I first started, we were always getting having lunch and learns from the different networks, and I was getting free food all the time. I'm like, man, this is amazing. I guess I just got started at a good time because it's not always like that, especially now with COVID. We don't have those at all, but it kind of gave me an introduction to the way Chevron really puts it effort and a focus on ensuring that everyone can bring their whole self to work and they feel comfortable doing that. And we kind of do that through these diversity networks. So yeah, I think there's another slide on this, but the key takeaway here is just that it's not something that we just talk about. It's something we really focus on. Both Robert and I have been on the board of different networks, and it's one of the best parts I think about working here at Chevron. And this is just a list of some of the networks that we have here. So 12 officially sanctioned networks. I'm sure each of you can probably relate or feel like you would belong in one of these networks, just based on who you are. But the cool thing is, you can be a part of any network. Everyone's welcome to any network. So I'm not gay, but I'm a part of the Pride Network, and I'm consider myself a straight ally. And yeah, I'm a part of a ton of different networks, Black Employee Network, and all those things. Obviously, I'm not Black, but it's it's just about celebrating the culture and the contributions of each different group to the company and to our country, really. All right, and this is me. So I think I gave you my spiel already. Graduated from Cal State Long Beach with a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering in 2015. Prior experience, I was in the United States Marine Corps Reserves from 2005 to 2016, and joined Chevron in January of 2016. That's me on the left with my 3 daughters who are now 7, 5, and 3. Yes, it's a handful being a dad with 3 kids. It's a lot, but it's a lot of pleasure as well, and a big motivator to want to work safely and get home safely. And then on the bottom right or bottom left, that's me working the recent Coker turnaround, which happened in May. It started in May, so kind of just after COVID got started. So it was a little kind of scary coming into work, not knowing how bad COVID would be, but thankfully we executed safely. You see, I got my mask on there, and we didn't have any COVID spreading or anything like that within the refinery, which was kind of an unknown at that time. I'm standing here at the top of the main fractionator column in our coker unit, and you can kind of see the coker derricks in the background there. I'm probably 150 feet up in the sky right there. So yeah, turnarounds are one of the funnest experiences, in my opinion, that we can have here at the refinery. So if you get into this industry, you will come to love have a love-hate relationship probably with turnarounds because they're also very exhausting. But yeah, we can speak to that a little bit later if you guys have questions. So who we are, so an energy company, an oil and gas company like Chevron, you'll often hear the terms upstream, midstream, downstream. And basically, simplified way of looking at it is upstream is where we're exploring and pulling the resources out of the Earth's surface. Midstream is when we're transporting it from upstream to downstream, and downstream is where we refine those products and we then market them to the customer. So that's really the easy way of looking at it. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about each of those here in a second. So this is kind of an overview of where we are in the world. As Robert talked about, we're a worldwide corporation. These are some of the main upstream facilities that we have. TCO here in Kazakhstan, you can see, is one of our largest operations that we have. San Joaquin Valley in Bakersfield is another one. And then here on the left-hand side, you can see that we currently have about 71 billion barrels of oil equivalent of 6P resource. So quite a large and extensive portfolio. So again, the midstream side of our operations is basically the way we connect the upstream and the downstream side of our business, and it's really how we maximize the value of our products by maintaining that. Not every oil and gas company is both upstream, midstream, and downstream. There's some that are just upstream, some that are just midstream, and some that are just downstream. But by operating across the entire value chain, we're able to maximize the value of our products. To give you a little perspective, we transport over 1 million barrels of liquids every day across the nation. So you can imagine that it's important and prudent for us to do that safely and reliably, which is something that we focus on every day. So as an upstream facilities engineer, you'll be working both onshore and offshore on a variety of projects, some from low complexity to medium to high complexity. And really you'd be overseeing those projects from initial stages, so from early development of solutions to estimating for a project, to the detailed engineering, through project execution and providing support through construction, and then all the way up through getting it into startup and starting it up, as well as managing and maintaining existing equipment for facilities that are already built and equipment that's already operating. You'll be driving like reliability and optimization efforts. It's a big part of what we do is taking what we have and ensuring that it's operating as efficiently as possible to maximize the value that we can deliver. And with that, Robert's going to talk a little bit more about what we do on the downstream side.
Cool. I'll give a quick little introduction about myself. So as I already mentioned, graduated from Cal State Long Beach, mechanical engineering, fall of 2015. I did what's called a maintenance internship in 2014, my junior year. Basically spent a lot of time with the welders, the machinists, and the instrumentation techs, kind of getting familiar with their responsibilities. And I think one of the main goals from that internship is to see how you work closely and build relationships with the maintenance folks in the refinery. In addition to that, we did do one big engineering project, which was really fun for that summer. And then my second internship with Chevron, I worked with the instrumentation group. I was able to install a differential pressure transmitter and level transmitter. So a little bit more electrical, but a lot of mechanical concepts that I think most mechanical engineers would be familiar with. And that's what's kind of cool about working in the refinery, is that a lot of skills cross job functions. So you could be a mechanical engineer doing a variety of different jobs in the refinery. So yeah, I started in February of 2016, so I've been there a little over 4.5 years now, working as a designs engineer. That's a picture of me and my wife. Went to Vietnam for our honeymoon. Been married for 1 year now. And the bottom left there, those are our two dogs, Hazel and Duchess. Hazel is the black lab. She just turned a year, and the little white one's a little terrier mix. Okay, you go to the next slide. So here I'm just going to talk about our downstream portfolio. On the left there, talks about our fuels refining and marketing. So this is going to basically cover the refineries we have across the globe. You can see there in the U.S. We have the Richmond and El Segundo refinery on the West Coast, Salt Lake refinery, and then in the South in the Gulf we have a Texas Pasadena refinery and our Pascagoula refinery in Mississippi. You can see that each group of refineries has a value chain, and what that basically means is that we optimize the transportation of our crude oil and then any intermediate products depending on the capabilities of each refinery. So basically it helps us really optimize and extract as many dollars out of a process barrel of crude oil. And for example, us and the Richmond refinery, we work very closely and are constantly transporting products between the two refineries and integrating everything. Petrochemicals is something that I think a lot of people forget about when talk about the oil and gas industry. Plastics and a lot of stuff comes out of the petrochemical industry, like detergents and a lot of other common household products. So we have a lot of partnerships across the world where we do petrochemicals. The last thing is lubricants and additives. So a lot of people are familiar with the Techron, Chevron with Techron. That's basically our additives business. And in addition to that, we do a lot of lubricants, like for industrial and just automotive oils and stuff like that. So yeah, if you were to start with Chevron either full-time or an internship, typical starting locations are going to be in the United States. On the West Coast, I kind of already mentioned the El Segundo and Richmond refineries. In addition to that, you could be starting in upstream in our Bakersfield, San Joaquin Valley business unit. But other than that, other refineries would be the Pasadena refinery, the Pascagoula refinery, and the Salt Lake refinery. Typically, when Daniel and I recruit, we're looking more to fill spots in refineries, since we're more connected with the refineries being based out of the El Segundo refinery. But there are opportunities for you to start in upstream or even headquarters. Upstream opportunities include Houston, Midland, Texas, Bakersfield, and even in San Ramon, there are upstream type jobs, which are integrate all the different business units. And then other than that, we have what's called our ETC group, our Energy Technology Company, and they're the group that specializes in different engineering fields, mechanical subjects, chemical engineering subjects, like designing processes and process units and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to touch pretty quickly on what we do as facilities engineers. First one here is the process engineering. Typically, these are our chemical engineers. A process engineer is going to work really closely with the plant operators to troubleshoot any issues that might be coming up in the plants. In addition to that, they'll be working to optimize any processes where maybe, for example, we're using too much fuel, we're not really being efficient with our feeds, and any other issues that might come up. But on top of that, similar to what you're going to see for designs engineer, they're going to work really closely with the turnaround group and do a lot of project scoping, do a lot of work list inputs, scope those out, and help give cost estimates. And they'll do something very similar with our capital projects group. A lot of questions will come up when trying to implement a new technology, or maybe install some new piping, a new piece of equipment, and really they're the ones giving the information about the process, any pressure, temperature conditions that are going to be relevant to make sure we're designing everything for the worst case conditions. So designs engineering, that includes the mechanical designs engineers, the instrumentation, and the electrical engineers. We're kind of one big umbrella, and that's what Daniel and I work under. So very similar. You're going to be working with your operations and maintenance people to understand any mechanical instrument or electrical related issues in the facility. Typically for a mechanical engineer, you're going to be working on like equipment minimum thickness calculations for integrity, right? You want to make sure that if you have any corrosion issues, you're not corroding too much of your equipment wall or material to the point where it's unsafe to operate that. In addition to that, you might be doing a lot of upgrades, either metallurgy or upsizing, debottlenecking, doing projects to implement new equipment. Like for example, I recently worked on a project that is installing a new pressure vessel, which is kind of working as a filter for the gas that goes into the furnaces. And with that, there's a lot of piping, and I had to do a lot of like pipe stress analysis. So that kind of ties into like your mechanics of deformable bodies class, implementing a lot of those concepts. And then with the instrumentation electrical engineers, something very similar, but more for their specific type of equipment, like pump motors, temperature and pressure instruments, control valves, and stuff like that. Chevron hires construction engineers, which typically are civil engineers and the construction engineering management programs, which Cal State Long Beach has both of. You work very much like a field planner, estimator, scheduler. You do a lot of different things in that role. I think what kind of stands out for construction engineers from just like a regular foreman or planner is that you've kind of already seen a lot of the engineering concepts in college, and you kind of are usually better at helping troubleshoot any technical issues that might come up. You might be able to answer some of the questions that will go to the designs engineer. You might be able to answer those things in the field, or you kind of know when to get other groups involved. But work very closely with the maintenance folks and execute projects. Cool. So this is going to touch on different career paths. Anyone in the engineer group has a pretty big umbrella for career opportunities. Engineers are usually the feeder pool for operations and maintenance management, as you can see from here. So chemical, mechanical, civil, construction, and electrical engineers typically are all going to start off as some type of facilities engineer, like the jobs I just described. And pretty much any of those positions can get you into project engineering, project management, which is typically our capital projects group. The other group you can go into is operations and production management. So a lot of our higher pay grade jobs are in the operations umbrella, and usually engineers are a big feeder pool for that group. You have a lot of people in the operations group going there, but engineers are typically the biggest feed pool. But yeah, as you can see, there's a bunch of other job opportunities. Other than management type roles, you can stay in a technical career ladder and go into more specialized technical positions. And even within technical, there are a lot of management positions to manage different engineering resources. Like I mentioned, the energy technology company. That's where you're going to see a lot of senior engineering management positions. But yeah, a lot of opportunities for engineers. Cool. I think that's going to be it as far as the slide content. If you guys have time, we can definitely stick around to help go through some of these questions that we jotted down earlier.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure who it was that was taking notes, but if you could circle back to those questions, and then we can kind of take our best shot at them.
Yeah. Okay, I could start with the first ones that were asked. So the first one that was asked is what opportunities are there for electrical engineering majors? Which I think you've like addressed like
Yeah,
just slides before.
Yeah, I can touch on it a little bit more. So for electrical engineers, you're typically going to go into the designs engineering group as specifically under the electrical engineering supervisor. That's a typical starting job, and you're gonna help work on like sizing pump motors, working on like substation designs, variable flow devices for like different types of rotating equipment like compressors and pumps. So there's a lot of capital type projects, but in addition to that, you could be troubleshooting like plant stuff. But as you saw, right, electrical engineers have very similar opportunities as the other engineering groups to go into other like senior management positions, senior technical positions.
Thank you. And the next question was, is Chevron like flexible with the career pathway and like if you want to like explore a different project or different location like later into the career?
Yeah. So I think I'm a good example of it, both because I'm a chemical engineer and I kind of started as a mechanical engineer. So you're not kind of just, based on what your degree is or what your experience is, you're not painted into one box. And then even if you start out, let's say you're a chemical engineer and you start out as a process engineer, there's so much room to kind of navigate into the other areas if you want to go into the more of the design side or the instrumentation group. And whether you want to stay on a technical career path or a management career path, and there's just so many different ways to get from point A to point B. You can have two people start in the same place and then end at the same place, but they took completely different ways to get there, and that was what was best for them and what they wanted to do. And then in terms of moving, typically you wait about 5 years, and once you've been in a place about 5 years and kind of established yourself, then you can branch out to a variety of different places. I'm a good example of that. Again, I'm moving to Texas here in a few months. We have another engineer that's going to Louisiana, and people coming from all over the country, to come work at this refinery. So yeah, there's definitely kind of an unlimited amount of opportunities and ways to go, whether it's location or career-wise. That's really one of the benefits, I think, of working at Chevron.
Yeah, I saw from the map earlier where like you have like locations like pretty much across the entire globe, and I think that's like really cool.
Yeah, and you often get even temporary opportunities. We had people go to Africa to work a turnaround last year. So there's just all kinds of opportunities to travel and to do different things.
Thank you. The next question will be, what type of entry-level programs are there at Chevron?
I could touch on that. I think our most impactful entry-level program would be what we call CTU, Chevron Technical University. So anyone who goes into like process engineering or designs engineering, you're going to be, within your first year, you're going to be starting CTU. And CTU is basically a 6-week crash course of a ton of engineering and oil and gas and refining concepts. So every 2 months, you're gonna do a 1 week course, and these courses are spread out through all of the downstream and chemical Chevron facilities in the United States. So you might have a training in Richmond for one of those modules. You might go to Pascagoula, Mississippi. In recent CTUs, they've gone to Salt Lake City and even the Belle Chase, Louisiana, which is the lubricants and Oronite facility. So in that you're gonna cover a ton of like pressure vessel, pump, compressor, piping, and then even like process engineering type concepts, going through all the different units in the refinery. It's a ton of information, but without the expectation of you 100% retaining everything, but being exposed to stuff, so that at the end of your first year at Chevron, you have some familiarity with a lot of these engineering concepts, because the refinery is so complicated, and we hear all the time that people who get a ton of their experience in downstream, specifically in refineries, they're really well prepared for any job assignment in like an upstream facility in a drilling and production site, because those are very simple single process type facilities, whereas in the refinery you're dealing with a ton of different process technologies and mechanical concepts. So I would say that's a very valuable entry-level program. And I guess the bigger umbrella of this Chevron Technical University is what are called our Pathways and our Horizons programs. And basically these are these programs that you're part of that help track your development. So they're making sure you're getting job rotations to diversify your skill set and your knowledge. And if you're in upstream facility, you'll be part of a 3 rotation program where you're in each assignment 1 to 2 years. So you can move from one facility to another, and that's when you really diversify your skill portfolio.
Thank you for answering. And I guess kind of like a follow up is that you mentioned like it's kind of like a technical school, or like where you get to like learn more about refinery. Is there like also like programs like that for like the different majors, or like or is it like just meant for design engineers?
You have all types of engineers in CTU. So in your class, you're rubbing shoulder with electrical engineers, chemical engineers, materials engineers, and even at some point you have people who are in health and environmental safety type programs at school, and so you could be with a very diverse mix of people. But there are different modules that are designed for general knowledge for all types of engineers, and then you break out in specific modules. You break out into specific classes to cover your job. So there's one module where only designs engineers are together, and then there's one module where only the chemical engineers are together, the process engineers, and we go very specific into technologies. But for the most part, 5 out of the 6 modules, you're going to be with all the different engineering majors and kind of learning more general information during that time.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, I think it was addressed earlier, but I'll just read it again. It was any skills that Chevron looks for, or like, are there any like certain applications that can help like a candidate applying to Chevron?
Yeah, so I think Robert touched on a lot of those. So I won't go back over what Robert said, but I think there's probably a myth that I myself believed, and I'm sure some of you believe, and that was, hey, when I get my degree, then I'm going to be very marketable and be able to get a job. And the truth is, some of you may know this, but most of you probably don't. You need more than just a degree nowadays to get your job. You need more than just a degree with a high GPA. Matter of fact, yeah, the GPA is important, but it's not everything. So I think all the things that Robert talked about, getting as much experience as you can, whether that's through research, um, internships, you know, doing what you're doing, being involved in a club, getting an officer position within a club, to kind of demonstrate that leadership. All those things are important and help set you apart. Um, but you also just need to learn the skills of you know, getting a job. So both resume, getting your resume refined and making a draft and having people critique it, using the resources available to you at the school, getting a mentor to kind of help you also guide you through that process, practicing interviews, so mock interviews. I probably had my wife interview me 50 times before I interviewed, with a real company, and just going through that process to get good at it, because it's like a muscle. You got to build it. Both of those things are really important. Um, and having a nice concise resume, no more than one page, with the key highlights in there that highlight what you actually added, the value that you contributed to whatever it is you're doing, with some numbers in there to show that. Those are kind of key things that help a resume stand out. But yeah, I know it's difficult, because one of the things we say is like, well, what can help me stand out to apply for like a resume? Well, to apply for an internship. Well, an internship helps you obtain an internship. So the earlier you can kind of get your foot in the door, no matter where it is, and gain that experience, and if it's like, applicable experience in like an industry setting like we have, that's all going to help you. Robert, what else would you add to that?
Yeah, I think the earlier you start, the better. I think if I'm looking for a senior, maybe has one summer left, I'm trying to give them an internship job, right? I have really high expectations, even for them. Like, I expect to see something on their resume already, even if it's not an internship. A lot of involvement at school, whether it be like research projects or maybe any projects you and some classmates put together. But everyone is doing that same classroom project, right? So if I'm going through resumes and I see the manufacturing lab project on everybody's resume, then you don't really stand out, right? I need to see something unique. And yeah, I don't want to go like too specific on resumes, but that's something we see a lot, is someone list out all the courses that they've taken, and a lot of the experience that they list is those class projects, and you need something that really will help you stand out. That stuff is really valuable if you're looking for an internship as like a sophomore or maybe even a junior level, because it kind of tells me, okay, this person has some experience with the machine shop, or maybe this program or this software. But if you're later into your college career, I look for something more to stand out.
Okay. Thank you for answering the question. I think you touched on like a lot of like good points about like extracurriculars and like things that kind of like make you stand out, or like that other people don't have on their resumes. And I kind of feel like that's the last question, just because the only other question is, are there any summer internships available for this summer? But I think you've mentioned earlier that you've pretty much filled in like all the available summer internship spots.
Yeah, we've already calibrated our candidates across all the universities, and we've gone through the process of narrowing it down to a few candidates. So at this point, it's pretty much closed for summer of 2021. But like I said, let's get ready for summer of 2022 and fall recruiting season next year.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Hi, Daniel. Hi, Robert. I actually have a question. My name is Kyle, and over at Chevron, do employees get reviewed? And if so, how often do they get reviewed?
Yeah, I can touch a little bit on it. I wouldn't say necessarily reviewed. You do have performance check-ins. So if you're kind of familiar with some of our competitors, there's some people who rank employees and they rank them from best to worst. That's not really something we do. I like the way our performance review program is set up because it's really designed not to really discourage you, but really help you improve and get feedback and see where you have gaps in your skills or maybe communication, and really improve yourself as an employee and as a person. So you're not really reviewed where someone's just critiquing you. It's just, you're talking with your supervisor and you try to set some goals with them, and throughout the year you see how you progressed on some of the some of the basic expectations as an employee and some of the goals you set. And in addition to that, some people can give feedback about you and give you some areas of improvement. That's kind of how the employee performance program. It's not like a super stressful thing. I do really feel like it's there for the employees to help you improve yourself and make sure you're meeting expectations.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
That was an interesting question, Kyle. I like that. What else do you guys have?
I guess I'll go again. What would be your favorite part about working for Chevron, and what would be your least favorite part about working for Chevron?
So for me, my favorite part is contributing in to a team goal. I feel like when it's me on my own and I'm just an individual contributor and I have a project I'm working on all by myself, I don't feel as it doesn't feel as rewarding to me to finish something like that as it does when I'm working with a team. One of my projects is actually a former project of Robert's. Basically a compliance project where our marine terminal is we basically are governed by a separate set of regulations from the state called MOTEM, Marine Oil Terminal Engineering and Maintenance Standards. And I feel like with that, there's a variety of different projects within that specific job that I'm working on, and each project has I put together different teams, and we're all accomplishing or working towards the goal and towards accomplishing a goal. I'm not working in a vacuum. And then, at the end of the year, when we kind of present our progress to the state, it's like a team celebration. And so for me, that'd be my favorite part. Least favorite part? That's tough. Least favorite part? I guess for me is when I don't have an urgent deadline. I guess I like the feel of like that fast-paced turnaround. When I have some projects that just have a far deadline and I'm not working towards something in the immediate future, for me it tends to kind of get a little boring and not as rewarding for me to work on those projects. Although those are also fun in their own way. That part for me is I guess probably my least favorite part. Robert?
Yeah, I'll go. I think my favorite part is you get a lot of opportunities to work on like these very big, impactful projects, and sometimes a high dollar amount. In the last couple of years, as I've kind of gone up in experience level, I've been given a lot of pretty satisfying projects. I had a piping project with very expensive high alloy piping. Total project was around $10 million, and part of that project I was able to do like a stress analysis. I was also delegating some work to some other outside engineering contractor for civil structural work, and it was a pretty complicated high dollar project. And it's kind of satisfying that they're okay with giving that responsibility to me. And it's not like you're all alone on it. You still have a team of people who are kind of there to back you up, and if you have any challenges, there's always someone there to help out. My least favorite thing would probably be that a lot of our job is not like super technical. You're not doing a ton of calculations all the time. You kind of could if you wanted to, and that's kind of something I've done. I've gone a route of like an SME to get more depth into like pipe stress analysis. So applying a lot more of like the stress and material concepts for piping and for pressure vessels. But even then, as a designs engineer, you can't really just go all in to that right now. You have to have a balance of delivering projects that your stakeholders need completed. But in addition to that, yeah, you could do some stress analysis for any equipment that might be at risk. But sometimes I do wish it was a little bit more technical. It is do get very much into like a project engineer, project management type role as a designs engineer, which is also still very satisfying. I really enjoy that team dynamic that Daniel's talking about. You guys are working on a common issue, a common problem, working towards a common goal, and when you do your part, you get the recognition, and then you give recognition back. It's a pretty satisfying part of the job.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. What else? Don't be afraid. We're friendly, I promise. All right, well, if you guys have nothing else, I do want to leave you with one last message, just because I know there's probably somebody on this call who's like me and was a complete procrastinator when it came to getting things ready. And I feel very fortunate to have gotten a job at Chevron. I didn't have any previous internship experience or industry experience. I did have military background. But I guess the message I want to give you is just don't procrastinate. Don't wait. When it comes to your future, you're going to graduate before you know it, and you're going to want to be prepared. So the time to start doing that is right now. Find a mentor, find someone to help guide you through the process, and utilize the resources that you have at school. You have a ton, and I know it's uncomfortable to have someone look at your resume and critique you and tell you what's good and what's not good. And it's uncomfortable to interview. Nobody looks forward to doing an interview. We're engineers. We're not like salesmen or people that like to talk to others. Generally speaking, we're kind of usually on the more shy side. But yeah, that's just the message I would leave with you guys, is just to take action and take it as soon as you can. And you'll thank me later for that if you